Are you tired of going to parties and kind of playing the same games over and over again? I know that a lot of mixed gatherings that I go to, usually the first game that comes out is a Cards Against Humanity, maybe a What Do You Meme, something like that, Apples to Apples, those kind of things that are really easy to play in groups. Well, today on King's Entertainment Reviews, I have a really fun game that allows you to play up to 8 people. You can bust it out in mixed company at your relatively small gatherings. I guess 8 people is not too big. It's not like you're not going to play with 15, 20 people, but it's a really fun game and it's really unique. Today on the show, we have Finger Guns at High Noon. So, the principles behind Finger Guns at High Noon are pretty simple. Right now, I have the game set up as if it is a 4 player game already in progress. We have some people that have already taken some damage. We have one player that's already dead, so you can kind of see what the table can turn into as you're playing the game. Um, every turn, you're going to be choosing one of these actions here that's on your card and doing the corresponding hand motion. I think the most important thing is for us to just kind of go down this little track here and show you what all of the different possible options do. So your first option here is you have posse. Posse is you stick your thumb up like this, and if half or more of the current survivors choose posse, all other survivors lose 5 health. Saloon. This is one where you do either 2, 3, or 4 with your fingers. You hold them up. And if you're the only player to show that number specifically, not just the saloon action, but that number specifically, you gain that much health. So it's a great way to heal. Shoot, that's kind of your most basic action. Do your little gun motion here and point it at the player that you want to pew, pew, and take 2 health away from them. Um, I like the little descriptions here on the side. It tells you exactly, in case the picture is not clear enough, it tells you exactly how to do it with your hands. This is the lasso. You're going to spin it like you're throwing a lasso at the ally card deck. We'll get into that in a little bit. If you're the only player to choose the lasso, then you gain the face-up ally and you resolve it. It could either be a keeper or an instant. Again, we'll get a little bit more details on that in a bit. You have the dynamite action, which is this, kind of like a rocker. Each of your neighboring survivors loses 3 health, like you're blowing it up, and you're blowing it up in your own hand. So apparently, you take less damage than the people around you, but that's basically what it represents, the dynamite going off. And it doesn't count ghosts. So, like, if this player were to blow up the dynamite, it would hit him and it would travel through the ghost to hit that person. And then you have Power Shot. Power Shot is this action right here. And that is the target loses 6 health. If you lost health to shot or dynamite this round, your power shot is canceled. So it's kind of like shooting a shotgun. And I don't really know why it's canceled, but maybe you can't aim it properly because it requires a lot of accuracy. If you took any damage, you weren't able to hit your target with it. Um, at the end of each round, you check for survivors, end the game if there are 2 or fewer. That's for a larger amount of players, and it's 1 or fewer in a 3 or 4 player game. Survivors win at that point. It's kind of like a cooperative aspect to a degree. If you're doing 3 or 4, it's every man for himself. But above that, then you're kind of trying to cooperate against the ghosts. And if there are no survivors at the end, that's at the end of the turn. So if people kill themselves at the same time, it doesn't matter who went first. If there are no survivors at the end, all current ghosts win. So after a person has died, lost all of their health down to 0, and it's not the end of the game, you get to become a ghost. And the ghost has variations on basically the same actions that the players have. The ghost can only kind of function as a spoiler for the most part. You still have the shot action, and you can still shoot somebody to take 2 health away. That's a good way to prevent somebody from using like a power shot or something like that. You're kind of trying to make everybody go down relatively at the same pace, so they kind of finish themselves off in the same turn, because that's how you're going to win. Saloon is show 2, 3, or 4 fingers, just like this, just the same saloon action that the players can do, but you're looking to cancel out the number for the other players. So if this player here throws up 4 and you as the ghost throw up 4, you can't heal, but you prevent him from healing. So That's kind of your way of playing spoiler there. And then lasso. Lasso is you can cancel out the lasso action from the player because you're still a player, even if you're not a survivor. That's why it says player, not survivor. So if you lasso and this person lassos, then it cancels out and they don't get the ally. But if you're the only one that lassos, you pull this off here and put it underneath the deck. And then you got the same thing kind of at the bottom here. You don't resolve it because you're a ghost, so you can't take advantage of that. And now that's a pretty good segue into talking about the ally cards. The ally cards have two different versions. One is the Keeper, which is something that stays in front of you and either has a continuous effect or something that you can turn in at a given point. So like this one, you may return this card to the bottom of the ally deck to cancel a shot or a power shot. So that's a good one if you're like in a spot where you might get taken out by that shot or power shot. You can save it until you want it. Then you have something like this. This is an instant. So immediately end this round. All further actions are canceled. Next round, all players may choose only the shot action and no one can target you. So this is actually a really good one. This is probably my favorite instant that they have in the game. But there's a decent variety to the allies here. So you can get some pretty cool combinations off if you get multiple allies. It actually adds a lot of variety to the game when you're shuffling this up and getting new allies out on the board. The cool thing to remember mechanically is that this can be triggered at any moment. This is something that somebody just says 1, 2, 3 draw, and then that initiates the turn. The only person who can is the sheriff, and as soon as that person initiates it, they become the sheriff. So if this person did it, they now become the sheriff. They can't initiate it again, but you never know when it's advantageous for one of the players to kind of just trigger the turn. They might do it at a moment when somebody might be distracted. It can be a party game. You can play up to 8 people, so you can have a decent amount of people sitting around the table playing this game, and they might get a little distracted. There's a little bit of strategy. And the only other like specific point that you kind of have to remember is you resolve all of your actions in order. So it does actually kind of matter who's throwing up what at a given moment because they do get resolved in order. So if you don't make it all the way through, then your thing doesn't get to go off. So that's why the power shot is left, because everybody else kind of would have done their damage to you at that point. So now that you guys kind of have a idea of how the mechanics work, I'll meet you back up top and we'll talk a little bit more about my review. So now that you know how Finger Guns at High Noon works mechanically, let's get into kind of my pros and cons and what I kind of think of this game. It's a fun game. I like the fact that you're doing hand motions. That's kind of unique. You're actually doing finger guns at people. You're doing the power shot. You're doing like all the different fun kind of motions with your hands, which can be fun when you have 8 people sitting around a table and everybody's either throwing lassos or putting up numbers or shooting people with finger guns. It's a fun time. And I haven't come across anybody who can't play this game. It's really simple, and as we went over in the mechanics, they even explain how to do all of the hand motions if you can't figure it out by the pictures. So it's idiot proof. It's an absolutely hilarious game when you get a little bit of social lubricant going through the group too. Gets people moving around, and there's just enough strategy to it with the allies and kind of stockpiling your you can kind of set up all the keepers, and if you really kind of go that heavy into that, for the long game, like towards the end of the game when a few people have dropped out and you got some ghosts and stuff kind of causing chaos, you can really tap into those allies and they can really help you out. So there's enough strategy where you can, the tactical mind of somebody who likes to play more tactical strategic games can actually still have a lot of fun with this game. So I would definitely recommend it. If you are somebody who tends to have a lot of groups of like 6 to 8 people, which there's not a ton of games out on the market that aren't like straight party games, like the card games like the What Do You Memes and the Cards Against Humanities and those kind of things. There's not a lot of games that are going to give you this much fun with that kind of a group, and it also only takes about 20 minutes. 20-minute game. You can stretch it up to about a half hour if you're playing with the maximum number of people, but it's really not a lot. You can get in like 3 or 4 games in a sitting before people would want to switch to something else. So a lot of fun. I'd probably give it about a 7.5 out of 10 for the person looking for a great party game. If you are liking what you see on the channel, you're liking the game reviews, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. What's your favorite party game? And do you know any other games that are similar where you're kind of doing hand motions and doing a lot of movements and stuff to play the game? And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified of all of the game reviews going forward. If you do want to pick up your own copy of Finger Guns at High Noon, there's going to be a link down below where you can pick up the game. It's no extra cost to you, but it really helps out the channel, and I really appreciate it. Well, I guess I'll catch you in the next game review.